Hey, it's Chris here with another episode of the CritCast. And, well, to start off with, I was figured to let you know that I'm not really talking about movies this week. It's more of a preview show for what I'm going to be doing next weekend. If you know me, you know that I'm a big horror fan, okay? And last year, I discovered the great world of horror conventions. I never really thought about going to these things before, but a friend of mine came up one day and said, hey, we found this one called Saturday Nightmares, and hey, we're going to this. We went, we had a great time, we met some great stars, guys like Sid Haig and Doug Bradley and Ken Foree and Tom Savini and Barbara Steele. It was a great time. So later that summer, we actually found a bigger one, the one that was called Monster Mania, held in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. And that was just an amazing experience. We met guys like Lance Henriksen and Carrie Elwes and Ernie Hudson and Tony Todd. Just some amazing guys. Even some more, some of the lesser, not as big names, guys like Nathan Basil from Leslie Vernon Behind the Mask. Casper Van Dien was there. That guy is a trip. And Joe Turkel from he was in Blade Runner and The Shining, and he was just a great guy, telling stories and stuff. And I don't know if none of you have ever been to something like this before. It's a lot of fun. You get to go to a hotel or convention center and meet all sorts of movie stars and actors and stuff, and vendors there selling all sorts of movies and paraphernalia and mementos and all sorts of different great crazy stuff related to the films. But this one, there's one coming up next week, and again in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, called Monster Mania. It's the 21st show, and it is enormous. And I just wanted to give you this a quick taste of what I'm really looking forward to, because this is going to be a great show. They have some of the biggest bad guys from horror and movie history are going to be there. Their main guest, the guest of honor, is going to be Robert Englund, who, if you don't know, is Freddy Krueger in the Nightmare on Elm Street series, as well as any number of other horror films, and the TV show V he was on back in the early 80s. But he's going to be there. Kane Hodder, who played Jason Voorhees in 4 of the Friday the 13th films. And that guy is really cool, because what's interesting about him, anyway, is that even with a series that has run, was it 11 movies now, I believe, total? He's the only one who's played Jason more than once. And also, it seems like when I talk to people about Jason and Friday the 13th movies, the portrayal of Jason that many people just automatically assume, even if they're not as familiar with the show, is his. And he didn't even play the role until the 7th part in the series. The series started in 1980, and he didn't even put a costume on until 1988, I believe. And I think that's pretty amazing, and it says a lot to what he brought to the character. I know it sounds funny, thinking about what people bring to characters like that. But if you look at what he did, as well as other guys who have put on masked characters, like another guy who's going to be here is Don Shanks, who played Michael Myers in Halloween Part 5. And I just recently rewatched that, and aside from Nick Castle, who played him in the first film, him and Tony Moran, he's probably my favorite guy to play Michael. And again, you're looking at somebody who's wearing a mask. He doesn't say anything. You never see his face. He pretty much just walks around killing people. But, in order to make these movies interesting, it's more than just killing people. There has to be something interesting about these characters. The way they move, the way they act, the energy they have, that comes out through the costume. And Hodder and Shanks did really good jobs with that. Another guy who wears a mask who's gonna be there is Gunnar Hansen, who was Leatherface in the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And he doesn't really talk. He makes some grunts and other crazy noises, but he's another guy who, he's a pretty intimidating on-screen character, and I'm actually looking forward to meeting him. I hope he's a nice guy in person. But I don't know if you've ever seen the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original, not the remake, the original. His first appearance on screen, when he comes out from behind that sliding door and hits that guy with the meat tenderizer and drags him behind the door, It's fast, it's gritty, and you just don't know what the hell just happened. He is a scary movie monster. Okay, to continue on, other people are going to be here. Another guy who wears a mask, who isn't exactly horror, but does qualify as a big time horror, big time movie monster, is David Prowse, who most people don't really know the name, but you probably know the mask. He was Darth Vader in the original trilogy, New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. The only time he wasn't in the costume was when they took the helmet off in Jedi, which I believe he's still a little upset about. But still, I mean, he is Vader through all three of those films. He brought Vader to life. He made Vader scary. He's one of the first things in movies that I was scared of was when I was a little kid. It was Darth Vader and the flying monkeys from Wizard of Oz. There you go. Those were the two things that really scared me when I was a kid. But it's going to be really great to meet him, being a big Star Wars fan. But this movie is this convention is loaded from top to bottom with stars. They're having a reunion of the Blair Witch Project stars. Heather Donahue, Josh Leonard, and Michael C. Williams. I believe this is the first time they've done a convention together since they were promoting the film back in 1999. And I know there's a lot of people who don't really like that movie, but I personally am a big fan, and that really was a game changer. That changed a lot of things in horror movies and the ways a lot of movies were made. It brought in that first person perspective, which I know wasn't the first one to do it, but it changed things. It was a phenomenon. It was a pre-internet. Some people saw it, thought it was real, and it was great. I loved it. Other big names we're gonna have here is Alex Winter's gonna be there. You probably know him from Lost Boys and of course from the Bill and Ted films. Anthony Michael Hall, who starred in the Dead Zone series, but also started off early in his career playing those geeky guys on shows like Weird Science and Breakfast Club. We're having there's going to be a Walking Dead reunion with Iron Singleton and Chandler Riggs and Madison Lentz, and the big name for me for this part of the reunion is Michael Rooker. Not so much for his involvement in The Walking Dead, but for the fact that he is Henry from Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer. Now, if you haven't seen that movie, that's one you're going to want to see. That is one hell of a scary movie. And besides that, he's been in a lot of stuff, and the guy's always entertaining. He's always pretty good in stuff that he's done. Another good one. I don't know if you've ever seen any of the Subspecies films, but Anders Hove, who played Radu, is going to be here. And I recently rewatched the first Subspecies film as part of my horror marathon during October, and that guy is creepy. Sure that it's a low budget movie, but man, he brings something to that role that I'm actually really looking forward to meeting him. Lou David, who played Cropsey in The Burning, is making I believe this is his first convention appearance, and that was a really cool movie if you've never seen that one. It's an early slasher film. Takes a lot out of the Friday the 13th handbook. The camp around the lake and the bad guy killing the campers. But there's a couple things notable about The Burning. And first off, it stars a few people who went on to be bigger names in Hollywood, including Jason Alexander, who you probably know best as George on Seinfeld, Fisher Stevens, who was in the Short Circuit movies, as well as any number of other things. And Holly Hunter was also in the film. And here's another thing. It was also directed by one of the Weinstein brothers. I believe it was Bob Weinstein, I believe. Other names we got here. We got Lisa Marie, who was in a lot of Tim Burton's films. Ed Wood, Sleepy Hollow, Mars Attacks. Kim Darby, who was in Halloween Part 6, but it's probably even more interesting to note that she was the little girl in the original True Grit with John Wayne. It's a great lineup of characters here. Nicholas Brendan from Buffy, Lloyd Kaufman, the head of Trauma. They did I just can't wait. Besides the fact that I'm going to get to meet a lot of these stars and shake their hands, get their autographs, and maybe even get to ask them a question or two. It's going to be a blast being there with a lot of other horror fans. You go there and you're surrounded by people who are all there for the same thing you are. All the people they love the same things that you love, and there's a lot of energy. It's just gonna be a great show. Besides the fact that they're also gonna have that huge vendor room. There's gonna be Q&A sessions. There's gonna be film screenings. It's a full weekend. You know, it's amazing. The hotel is sold out. It's I was going to say, but you know, Monster Mania is going to be a blast, and I really can't wait for it. And I just wanted to give you a taste of all the people that I'm going to get a chance to meet, and maybe get you a little excited for the next one. If there's anyone out there looking at this who likes horror films, the next convention they're having is in August. I believe it's around August 17th or 19th or somewhere around there. It's going to be the same place down in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. And they're actually building up a big Hellraiser reunion. Their main guest is going to be Clive Barker, who wrote the story and wrote and directed the film. Claire Higgins is going to be there. Ashley Lawrence, who played the heroine of the original Hellraiser. Doug Bradley, who was Pinhead. They're going to have a couple of the other Cenobites who are going to be there. It's just going to be a blast. I don't know what to say. I mean, I had a great time last year. It was my first time at the Monster Mania, and I'm expecting this one to be even bigger and better. So anyway, that's what I'm up to next weekend. If you don't see me around or hear from me, I'll still be online through the week, so you can still see hopefully some more reviews and stuff from me at criticaloutcast.com. But otherwise, that's about it for this week. I hope you enjoy this, and I'll give you a rundown about what happens afterwards. Keep an eye out. Maybe you'll see some pictures of me with the stars.